A very good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss the rest of the types of motion. In the last class we discussed about motion. I hope you all remember what is motion. When an object changes its position with time, it is said to be in motion. When there is no change in position, it is said to be in rest. And then we discussed about the types of motion. So these are the different types of motion. And in that we discussed the first four, that is the translatory motion, rectilinear motion, circular motion and rotational motion. And today we are going to discuss the next three, that is the periodic motion, oscillatory motion and vibratory motion. So moving on, the first is we are going to discuss periodic motion. So what is periodic motion? Body repeats its motion after regular or constant intervals of time. It is said to be periodic motion. It is a type of motion that repeats after regular intervals of time. Let's take the example of revolution of Earth. So that is an example for periodic motion. So we all know that the Earth takes 365 days and 6 days to complete one revolution around the Sun. And the time period or the time duration, it is fixed. So it is said to be a periodic motion. Then the rotation of the Earth. Does it undergoes a periodic motion? Yes. Rotation of Earth is also periodic one, where the Earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation along its axis. The time period, that is the 24 hours, it is fixed. So the rotation of the Earth is also an example for periodic motion. So what is periodic motion? It is a type of motion that repeats after regular intervals of time. Another example is the hands of a clock that have periodic motion. We know clock has an hour hand and a minute hand. So the hour hand completes a circle in every 12 hours. And the minute hand, it completes a circle in 60 minutes. So it repeats after regular intervals of time. So it undergoes periodic motion. So what is periodic motion? It is a type of motion that repeats after regular intervals of time. So that is about periodic motion. The next type of motion, that is the oscillatory motion. It is a to and fro motion of the body about its fixed position. Let's take the example of movement of pendulum, which undergoes oscillatory motion. The movement of pendulum is a to and fro motion between any 2 points, which is said to be oscillating. Such type of motion, we call it as oscillatory motion. So the movement of pendulum on a clock is an example of oscillatory motion. Then the motion of the pendulum is also periodic, which means it repeats after regular intervals of time. So that is about oscillatory motion. It is the to and fro motion of body about its fixed position. That is the oscillatory motion. The next type of motion, that is the vibratory motion. That is when you pluck a string which is tightly held between 2 points in musical instruments like guitar or sitar. So the string vibrates. So that is called as the vibratory motion. If the rate of oscillation increases rapidly, then it becomes vibratory motion. So that is when you pluck a string which is tightly held between 2 points. For example, in a musical instrument like guitar or sitar, when you pluck a string vibrates, and that motion is called as the vibratory motion. So these are the different types of motion. The next is about combination of different types of motion. Usually an object shows more than one kind of motion at the same time. Okay, so an object shows more than one kind of motion at the same time. So here you can see an example. Here you can see the car is moving along a straight path. So what type of motion is this? That is the rectilinear motion. It is a type of motion where an object moves along a straight path. So here it is undergoing a rectilinear motion. What about the wheels of this car? We know the car is moving along a straight path, so that the wheels undergo both rectilinear motion and rotational motion. What is rotational motion? It is a type of motion where an object moves along a circular path. So here we can see there are more than one type of motion at the same time. So we can conclude that an object shows more than one kind of motion at the same time. So that is all about this chapter. In the last two classes, we were discussing about motion and different types of motion. So we are done with the 10th chapter. So you all can go to the exercise from page number 141 to 144. So you all can try doing the exercise. So we'll meet in the next class and we'll start with a new chapter. Till then, thank you.